guys? Welcome back to Before the First Cast. Guys, I hope you had a great week so far. Guys, I want to apologize for last week not having a video. We had something freak happen here where I live, and we had our power go out. It was really weird. My internet really never came back up, and I do apologize. I had a guest all lined up for you guys as well. I'm hoping to get him back as soon as possible once we can work it out. But guys, again, I do apologize. But this week it's going to be a little different. We're not talking about you know our normal conversation. We're going to jump into some fishing that a lot of people don't really do anymore. But you can get some really good bites doing it. And what do I mean by that? We're going to talk a little bit about night fishing today. Um, Guys, it's getting hotter and hotter. We're in the middle of summer, coming down to the end of summer. Um, and it's getting to the point where, you know, it's getting way too hot to be out on the lake during the day. Um, and I'm sure everybody is really tired of this heat and what is, I think we had days here in Virginia that were in the hundreds a couple weeks ago. But guys, I want to bring night fishing up because you can get some really, really big fish to bite at night, um, and you can really get some um, really aggressive strikes during the at night. Um, so as we jump in, let's just kind of what is night fishing? How can you be successful at night fishing? So let's start with um, really what determines if you're going to have a good fishing day or fishing night, I would have to say. So fishing at night, you wouldn't believe it, but it kind of resembles fishing during the daytime. A lot of it has to do with water clarity. Um, it has to do with the moon, how bright it is. If you have clear water, dark water, like murky water, really it really depends on what what your water clarity is and what um, the moon phase is. So let's say you're fishing because everybody says fishing right after I believe it's the new moon or the full moon that the fishing's the best. Well, that cannot be. It can be the case sometimes, but it also cannot be the case. And really, it determines on how bright it is. Um, and I know during the new moon, it's darker, so you're going to get a lot of fish that's not really skittish. They can't really see you, so you're going to get a lot more bites. And if you're fishing during the full moon, it's brighter, so the fish have an opportunity to look at your bait and study it a little more, just like it's in the daytime, because it can be as in the fish's eyes is just as bright as it is during the day. So as we're starting to night fish, definitely check your moon phase you're in. Um, Also, what is the fish doing during the night? So what happens at night is the water cools off. So what that causes is bass to be more active at night, feeding actively because they're not like hot, they're not, exhausted, but they're more active because it's cooler, the water temperature is cooling down so they can start actively feeding again. Bass are like humans, and the fact of when we're hot and overheated, we're gonna just not want to do anything, be lethargic. So that's how bass are during the day. That's why they always find shade where it's cool. Um, so at night, when it cools down, you're better chance to get a bite because they're actively feeding. Now, yes, I know there's feeding windows. There's all kinds of things you have to consider at night. I mean, I've fished a lot of night tournaments. I understand, what it all that. Um, and for me, I've been more successful when it's been the new moon phase because it's darker. I live on a clear lake. Smith Mountain Lake is pretty clear for the most part, unless you run up the Roanoke River. But down in the southern part where I like to fish, or down by the dam, it's really clear. So if we have a full moon, I'm not really going to be successful because the fish can really see, or the bass can see what I'm doing. So I really like fishing during the new moon. Um, Secondly, what are some things I need to know before I go night fishing? So my first advice to people that are night fishing: get you a decent headlamp. Um, Guys that night fish know, you know, when you use your, it's great you can have a flashlight, but when you're trying to fight a huge fish and you're trying to hold the light on them, you're trying to, even if you have your cell phone, trying to light the water up to see the fish come up. That's extremely hard, and you can have the potential of losing a fish. So I would suggest a good headlamp. It doesn't have to be expensive. I have one that clips to my hat that you can turn on, and it's pretty bright. It has three different settings: green, red, and just your normal flashlight. Um, Something simple as that. Another thing that I would recommend as well is have your nav lights on, or your navigation lights. There's been several times where I've been out fishing at night, and you have your big boats come by, they not see you, you're getting waked. I always, and another thing I always do at night, I always wear my life jacket, um, because one, if we hit a rogue wave and you get tossed or something, you have your life jacket to save you. Um, the and that is the biggest thing for me, is having my life jacket on. Even if, like, I come into a situation where a boat doesn't see me, like they're not paying attention. It's a big boat. I had this happen one 4th of July weekend. They came about probably a foot from my engine. And me and my buddy were like, do we jump? Do we, like, what do we do? So if you have to make that horrible decision to jump in the water because that boat's that close, you have your life jacket to fall back into, or to keep you safe, making that decision. Um, And I guess the next thing is, guys, what do we catch them on? Like, how do you night fish? I'm just thinking of the people that, don't really go night fishing, or they don't like to. So what works? So my advice for you guys to start out with, I don't have one of these baits with me right now, but I would recommend starting out with a big worm, a curly tail worm to be exact, like an Strike King or Zoom Big Monster or Old Monster, some big, long, 10-inch curly tail worm. Texas rig it with a half-ounce sinker and put a bobber stop in it. Most people are like, "Oh, I don't use bobber stops. I just let it fall to the bottom, just by itself." I don't recommend that, especially at night fishing. You want to have the feel of the bait. So with that bobber stop and that weight pegged, you can feel everything that worm is doing, that bait is doing. You want to be connected to your bait. That's what night fishing is all about. You want to be connected. Um, and with the weight unpegged, you're not feeling that bait. You're just feeling that weight. Um, so I always like to have a bobber stop on it, just so I can feel that what that bait is doing in the water. And sometimes you'll have fish that just come up and we call it mouth the bait, which means they don't bite it. Essentially, they mouth it and then they just start swimming. You'll be able to feel that with the weight connected to the bait, because that tension, you're going to want to set the hook once you feel that tension. Because most of the time they just put it in their mouth and swim off. You'll never feel a bite until your line starts going. Here's my second bait for you guys, and everybody's like, "Well, you can fish that bait in the in the daytime too. It just works as good." A jig. This is a missile baits. I believe it's a. their mini flip jig. This has caught me so many bass. This and the headbanger jig, the football jig from Missile Baits, has caught me so many bass at night. And really, my technique, I'll throw it out there, I'll let it hit bottom, I'll let it sit there for a little bit, but I'm just dragging it, dragging it on the bottom, real slow, drag, drag, drag. And when you feel that line, or you'll feel them hit this, it just sometimes they wreck it, or sometimes again they mouth it. But if your line gets tight, I always say hook sets are free. Smoke them. If you feel that line get tight, jack them. I mean, hit them as hard as you can. Um, I caught a lot of big fish doing that, dragging a jig, especially on rocky points. Your lakes have a lot of long rocky points. That's that's gonna be money. My next bait, I don't know if people are gonna like this next bait, but I do. Um, Most people think, oh, you got to be fishing deep at night. You have to be fishing super deep. No, my next bait, I got a medium diving crankbait. You say, oh, medium, so that only goes 4 to 8 feet. You're right, it does go 4 to 8 feet. Your bass are gonna come up and feed at some point at night. So I like reaction baits. I don't know if anybody else does. Sometimes dragging a jig gets tiring. I don't like it, especially if it's 8, 9, 10, say like 1 in the morning. I don't want to drag a jig all night, but there's a certain time of the night where that moving bait just shines. You get a dark night. Get one with a rattle in it as well. That's a big key. Um, I don't have one with a rattle in it right now, but well, I guess the rock crawler has a rattle in it. Um, but they can't stand it. They can't stand it. I don't know what it is, but I've caught so many fish on a deep diving crankbait or medium diving crankbait. Sorry, um, it's just something just weird about it. Um, and it gets light at night. You just some reason it just kicks in, and I'll just get off my soapbox because I love fishing a medium diving crankbait. So you know, my next bait, you also this is a no brainer. I mean, you got to have some sort of top water. Yes, you see the buzz bait. People are like, "Oh, I see a buzz bait." Do they work at night? Yes, they do work at night. Um, Usually, I'll have a double buzz bait. I just pulled this one out of my box. I like to use black. I don't think the blades matter at night. As long as they're making a lot of noise and clacking, it don't really matter. Another good one for me, I just couldn't find it in my box, is a thunder stick. That is huge around here in Virginia. People throw thunder sticks at night, and you can catch just about anything on them. You know, you can catch striped bass. You can catch. I've caught a perch on one. Um, it's just a good bait overall. I mean, it it probably best top water I ever thrown. Once I figured out how to throw it, it was a no brainer going to be in my box if I'm night fishing. Um, Another bait that most people don't throw is a whopper plopper at night. Cannot beat a black whopper plopper at night. Makes a lot of noise. It's erratic. It sounds like a massive bait fish or something on top of the water that just attracts bass. It's just crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things you can fish with. Also, when you're picking bait colors, you want to match the hatch of what's in your fishery. I know this sounds weird, but bass still have the senses that they do in the daytime than they do at night. So your bait fish colors, as you can tell, crawfish colors, crawfish colors. Um, Really, I mean, this is a perfect example of your like citrus shad or your olive shad. Um, you really want to keep it simple. I know it may not make a difference, but I think it does because you're not going to have a bass just randomly eat something. And does the weight size matter? I get that question sometimes. You know, I don't think it does. I think you just want the weight to be a little heavier so one, it gets to the bottom quicker and you can feel it, especially if you're dragging. Now, if I can't feel like we're so deep, I can't feel a half ounce jig. I will upsize to a 3/4 ounce jig or a 3/8, and that usually does the trick for me. But usually I don't have to go that high. Um, so, guys, I always really like to end my podcast with always be safe. Um, we just got done with the 4th of July. There was some, boating accidents on Smith Mountain here recently. Just know your limits. If you don't feel comfortable going out at night, I just, I would not suggest it if you've never been out before and you really don't know how to navigate the water. Also, another thing I didn't mention is your maps are very important at night. So get you a good, either a lake map or, a good chip in your unit that has good mapping quality, because the worst thing you want to do is roll over, say, like a shoal you didn't know was there, and then you busted a lower unit out. Like, you don't want to do that. Or, you want to know where those hazards are. Um, Again, always be safe out there. I always encourage anybody listening or watching, have somebody else in the boat with you at night. I know a lot of night tournaments don't let you fish alone, and quite honestly, I wouldn't recommend it because two eyes or four eyes is better than two eyes, I say. Um, and really, it's just fun to have company out there while you're fishing, and you're just have somebody to talk to at night. I think it's very important. Um, Also, if you're getting tired or sleepy while you're out there, and you're the guy operating the boat, please switch off. Have your partner drive the boat if they're able to. Um, Guys, and just be safe. Um, I've also seen, just a lot on the water that could be avoided just by just using a little common sense, I would guess. Um, but then again, you know, we're all human and we all make mistakes sometimes. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. It was kind of the spur of the moment thing, but I thought it needed to be addressed and it needed to be, brought out because a lot of people are starting to get out there and night fish. And I just wanted to help you guys out when you're out there on the water. If you're struggling to catch them, maybe some of these baits that I brought up will help you guys. Um, but guys, have a blessed Friday. Go catch them this weekend and be safe.